Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another exploration. And today, on my quest for England and what it's like to be in England and Englishness, I've come to Storrington and the museum, which I'm very pleased that Bill Thompson, who works at the museum, what's your role?
I'm the Secretary of the Museum Society.
Secretary of the Museum Society. Lovely to meet you, Bill.
We're
going to have a little discussion, I thought, about, because it's such a lovely, I'm going to use the word quaint, but I hope you take that in the right way.
That's a compliment, certainly.
It's a beautiful, small but beautiful museum which shows so much of the life of the village of Storrington. I should just say that Storrington is just north of the South Downs. I mean, you're right at the foot of the North Escarpment, aren't you?
Yeah.
Close to Worthing, close to the A24, the main sort of Worthing to London road, and you're across from Stenning and Amberley, I guess, and places like that. So it's a lovely rural village. So you would imagine, and there is, a lot of rural exhibits here.
Absolutely, yes.
But there's more to it than that. But let's just start with the rural side of things, because with the downs and stuff, there's a lot of sheep farming and arable and stuff. So what sort of things do you have here that signifies that would have been connected to the village?
Well, there's a lot really. I mean, as you say, it was very important for sheep and also, of course, for cattle, but I suppose mostly for crops. I mean, the sheep would graze on the sides of the downs, but the flat ground at the foot of the downs, they would grow all sorts of crops there.
Yes.
And I mean, we've got here, there's old seed drills, there's pitchforks, there's all manner of agricultural equipment.
And what's striking about it is, of course, we live in a mechanised world that we've all become so familiar with, but this is all hand, manual equipment.
Yes. Yeah. Everything was done by hand with the assistance of the horse, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And you've got some lovely pictures up there with a gentleman who's got a very hard-working horse there.
That's right, yes. I mean, he was actually local road mender.
Oh, was he? I love the beard. Those beards of the day. Very, very sort of fashionable of their time.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And you'd see pictures of shepherds with similar sort of beards.
That's right, and of course they'd all have the Sussex smock as well.
Yes.
Which we've got a lovely example of that.
And that's really, really interesting to see that, because you see the pictures and you really wonder, did people ever dress like that, you know? And of course they did.
Yes.
And you've got one.
That's right. It was their working overalls, if you like.
Absolutely. A museum like this is important for the community, because it's not just a bunch of old things that you've shoved in glass cases.
Oh, no.
There's more to that, the keeping that history of our past alive.
That's right, yes. I mean, we obviously go back to the previous couple of centuries with the agricultural things, but we come back through the 20th century, even into the 21st, with things like our current display, which is old office equipment, and there are things there like electronic calculators that someone of my age remembers them being new, but children of today, it's literally a museum piece. They don't know what it is.
And isn't it true that I'm in my 50s, and as soon as I came in I saw your typewriters, and of course I remember typewriters, and I used to use typewriters in my youth, and it's, for some people it must be coming in a trip down memory lane, because things change. The advances in the last 50, 60 years have been so rapid.
That's right, definitely, yes. I mean, the computers and so on that we have today, go back to the sort of 1960s, 1970s, what you can do on your phone would take a thing that would fit into a room the size of this museum.
Absolutely. So you've got people who must come and have a trip down memory lane, and then there's others like the younger generation who see these things and are completely baffled.
That's right, yes.
And so presumably you have school trips here?
We do, yes. We get trips in local schools, scout and guide groups, that sort of thing.
And what is the reaction from the kids?
It's almost bafflement.
Yes.
Although it's within living memory for a lot of us. It's totally alien to the kids almost.
Yes.
They've only read about it in books.
Do they find it fascinating that these, because they're used to just swiping now and putting fingers on glass to make things change?
Oh yes, that's right. It's certainly, it's interesting to see how things have changed,
yes.
And we do try and give them little sort of quiz sheets and so on, so that they take in some of what they've seen and try and understand it.
Yes, which again is another reason why it's so important to get the children as well as the older generations into museums to appreciate our history. Now, behind me on the right-hand side, you've got an interesting cabinet which demonstrates how one family in particular, sort of expanded their business and became a very important business in Storrington. Can you tell me about that?
That's right, yes. The Greenfields, they sort of came and set up shop in the early part of the 19th century. Just had a basic grocers and drapers. There were several similar businesses in the village, but the Greenfields did particularly well. They knew their market, they served the village very well, and expanded into all sorts of other bits. They had furniture, wine and spirits, as well as just the grocery and drapery. Even ran the local funeral directors. So it would be said that the Greenfields would take care of Storrington from the cradle to the grave. And in the end, they had loads of different businesses all around the area. Didn't really go outside the immediate area because they were so well known and served Storrington so well.
And were they loved?
Oh, I think so, yes.
Yeah.
They brought an awful lot of employment to the village,
Absolutely,
which, with the agriculture, I suppose, tailing off a bit towards the end of the Greenfields period, it was very welcome.
Yes, absolutely. So that, and I guess that's a story that happens in many villages that are, somebody who's well loved, grow their business. They're not necessarily looking to take on the world, so they're sort of small scale capitalists, if you like, but serving the community.
Oh yes, very much so. I mean, I didn't grow up in Storrington. I grew up in Henfield, which is only just down the road.
Yeah.
But it was a very similar story there, with a couple of family businesses that served the village almost exclusively.
And kept people employed. And that was an interesting time when people were coming off the land and we had all this new innovation that people were looking for different types of work, clearly.
That's right.
On the other side of the that particular case, you also have a number of the famous people who have stayed and been in Storrington or lived for a short time.
Yes.
Can you tell us some of the people?
Well, I think one of the most remarkable people, and the one that surprises almost everybody, is Jomo Kenyatta, who was the first president of Kenya, of course. He was in England studying just before the Second World War. Obviously, with the world in conflict, he couldn't really go back to Kenya at the time. So he came down south, and was living in London. He stayed in Surlington, rented a flat there, and worked at Linfield's farm in Thacombe, and became quite a local character, very much loved.
Yes.
And then, of course, after the war, he went to Kenya, became the first president. He was quite a controversial figure, but because there was quite an uprising there. But I think he was really interested in getting the independence. He would have preferred it to be done peacefully, I think,
yes.
And others had different views. But he was quite a remarkable man.
And I imagine living in an English village for a time and getting to know real people must have influenced him in some way.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And of course you've got poets and you've got writers.
Yes.
You've got Vera.
Vera Pragnell, yes,
Pragnell.
Who formed the Sanctuary, which was a sort of very early, almost a commune, I suppose, a social living experiment, where she gave plots of land to various sort of needy people, attracted a lot of bohemian and artistic people. And that was a very interesting time, but then the plots of land gained in value, I suppose. People got greedy and greed took over from socialism.
Absolutely. And suddenly there's big houses and what have you now. And I've actually done a video walking around that area If I remember, I'll put a link in the description. So, yeah. Now, this is your 20th year being here as a museum. And you're going from strength to strength, hopefully.
Well, yes,
absolutely.
We hope so.
But one of the problems you have, you're in a small building, which obviously you've got to maintain and
that's right.
And pay for.
We rent an exhibit hall, which is quite small, an office and a store. We have to raise the money to pay the rent, obviously, and the various running costs.
And space is your biggest problem.
Space is a very big problem. We get offered an awful lot of things, and a lot we have to turn down because we just don't have the room.
Yes.
And so our volunteer curators team just like to concentrate on things that have a direct relevance to the village and its history.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I can tell you, having had a wander around, it is an absolute warren of interest. There may not be, compared to the sort of London museums, room after room after room, but what you see here is so significant to Storrington. It really is worth coming around and spending an hour enjoying it. Bill, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you for coming to see us, Richard.
And thank you. And I invite, on your behalf, many people to come, because the admission is free.
Admission is free, yes. We're open Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sunday mornings.
There we go. So no excuse. So do come along and explore it for yourself. Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
I shall be out and about doing other explorations, so join me then. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.